Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Craig Burley, Stevie Nicol and Casey Keller. We also welcome to the show World Cup winner Frank Leboeuf is with us, Euro qualifying, of course, dominating football at the moment. And we start in Northern Ireland. They were taking on Germany. Northern Ireland with a 100% record going into this game. The Germans, though, winning by 2-0 to put them top of the table. Meanwhile, the Dutch with a 4-0 victory over Estonia. We'll touch on that a little later on. But first, let's start with what happened in Northern Ireland. Right. What do we say about this?
If you win the World Cup, you don't have to put a jacket on.
Oh, the state of him. That's not...
You
know, at least he hasn't got his hoodie on today.
Frankie's privilege.
Where do we start on this? Do we say, right, well done, Germany, you got the win, that's all that matters?
It is all that matters. It is all that matters, but they're unconvincing. They are very unconvincing. Bear in mind, Northern Ireland are a team, particularly against the bigger countries, that don't tend to create many chances at all. They're usually camped in their own box, just defending. Whilst they had to do that for some periods, they didn't have to do that for 90 minutes, and they looked a threat going forward at the end of the first half, and then as the game wore on, they had chances. Germany got the job done, but we were kind of laughing at the back line and how slow some of these defenders are.
Well, if Northern Ireland had a proper striker, then there would have been definite goals in this game.
Absolutely,
but Germany go into this match under pressure, knowing that they had to win it, and they did.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing. How they performed means nothing, really. It's all about the result. If Germany had been Germany-like and completely dominated this game and passed Northern Ireland off the park and not won, we'd have been slaughtering them for that. So it's all about winning the game.
Yeah.
They didn't. They won it. They weren't convincing. From the first minute to the last, they looked vulnerable. And they should have lost goals, but they didn't. And that's what counts.
It's a good word to use, isn't it? Vulnerable.
Well, and Holland showed that the other day, right? That they exposed them and they got their goals because of it. Northern Ireland exposed them as well at different times. They couldn't get goal. Neuer came up with a couple saves, a couple times when balls just flashed across the post. I think with a little more clinical finishing from Northern Ireland, it could have been a different ball game. But at the same time, with a little more clinical finishing from Germany as well, they could have extended that lead earlier. But still, yes, the result was key. After it was a good bounce back, not performance-wise, but result-wise, from losing at home to the Dutch the other day.
I don't think there's any big nations looking at Germany thinking, yeah, I don't want to fight, I don't want to get them at the Euros, or because, quite frankly, unless things take a big turnaround and they're not at the Euros yet, they're still going to qualify, but they're in a better position now. You're not going to be frightened to play them, particularly not with the midfield and back line. But the one thing I'd say about Northern Ireland, and it's getting on to some of the other countries later on that are struggling, is it's one of the reasons Michael O'Neill is being looked at by some clubs and some decent jobs, is because, OK, they sit in sometimes and make it difficult to beat, but you look at their team, and you go through that squad, substitutes, and you think, how the hell have they been at the Euros in 2016, how have they got 4 wins out of 4 going into this game against Germany, and how can they be somewhat competitive against not a great Germany side, but mediocre Germany side, but they're still giving them a game. So I think credit to him, the fact that he even gets them somewhat competitive.
That sets us up almost for a Scotland conversation, which we'll have.
Did you get that's where it was
That's where I felt we were heading. Just going back to Germany for a moment, Frank. I've got to ask you about their defence, because Stevie used the word vulnerable, and that's exactly what they looked. Even though they're up against Northern Ireland, when the Irish went forward, you know, it did look like they were going to score.
Yeah, they seem to be very fragile. I have to admit, they're strong people, strong guys, you know, very tall people, but it's like they don't work together. They don't really talk to each other. Don't forget that, of course, they got the result, but defensively, especially in the first half, they seems to be very vulnerable in the way that, remember this chance that Washington just got from a cross from Dallas. The Northern Irish, they would have scored, it would have been another story, I think, and Casey said that again also. So I think we don't see the Germany that we used to see. I think they still have to work very hard if they want to offer something that we can maybe change our mind. But right now, what we see, especially the first half, and after the 20 minutes after the first 20 minutes of the second half, they still show us that they're fragile, that they can have problems very quickly because they're not very strong enough defensively.
We were really harsh on Jurgen Löw after the defeat against the Dutch.
Well, and he's not getting any love for beating Northern Ireland.
But he hasn't got a lot to work with, has he? That's an issue as well.
Well, he's partly to blame for that. He decided he was going to jettison some of the players. Some of them were at the end, and he made some decisions. I mean, this is the guy that didn't take Leroy Sané to the World Cup. You know, making decisions like that. And I mean, so
if we watch
the German FA are not going to be like doing cartwheels because they beat Northern Ireland at Windsor Park.
You can't see any pattern with the Germans. There's nothing.
Right.
Listen, as much as we're criticising the back line for the chances they gave up, let's be honest, until the Irish started chasing the game, they couldn't break them down. Anything they had pretty much was off set pieces where they got a ricochet and it fell to somebody who couldn't take a chance. This wasn't a case of them outplaying the Irish and missing chances. It was far from it. So, listen, we can criticise the back line all you want, but going forward, Jurgen Löw hasn't got a pattern of anything. There's no combination play. There's no... It seems... You know, we always talk about footballers. The best footballers, they don't have to think about it. But there's no movement. Nobody seems to know what everybody's trying to do, and that means you have to think. And by the time you think, a well-organised defence will close you down.
Well, then even take it a step further and go back to the German team in Brazil. The level of athleticism in that team in Brazil.
Yeah.
And the pace on overlaps and counterattacks, and it just isn't there. So you're not even looking at a team that says, okay, we'll maybe have to absorb a little pressure. Then that ball comes in, and then it's 2-3 passes down in someone's half, and it's over. Teams aren't even that scared to get numbers forward. Not only that, then you look at how pedestrian that back line is. So if they push the two outside backs forward, do you really want Sula coming out of the middle to go mark somebody out wide one-on-one if he's a top-class player? Imagine playing against the Dutch, playing against, we saw it the other day, imagine playing against Belgium and having those center backs get wide, exposed one-on-one. It's not good.
Imagine French with Mbappe and Griezmann.
Exactly.
You know, and the way they operate the midfield. Can you imagine how they would expose? That's the difference at the moment. That's kind of where Germany are under this coach, is that you just look at, say, the French, who are arguably the best team in the world at the moment, and you think, how would they cope with this French attack? And it's hard to see how, barring the French had a particularly bad night, how the Germans could even cope with the physicality and the pace of the French team.
Meanwhile, in Group I, not a good night for Scotland. We say that quite a lot these days, don't we? 4-0 win for Belgium at Hampden Park over the Scots. We'll talk about Belgium in a moment because we're going to talk about the quality and their expectations going into the Euros next year. But from a Scotland perspective, you mentioned it, you touched on it slightly with Northern Ireland and Wales. Why are they so bad?
Why are they so easy to play against?
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to ask the former managers and the current manager, Steve Clarke, about that. But that group table is an utter embarrassment. I mean, the qualification's over because Russia have got 15 points, and you're not making that. None of the other dauber teams, as I'd call them, and they are catching Russia or Belgium. So the qualification's well and truly over. And Scotland can wangle their way in through the Nations League if they have to. The only upside is that it's a good job San Marino haven't improved over the last few years. Or Scotland would be bottom of that group. And the downside is this has been going on for years. But the problem is for Stevie Clarke, and he's only just in the job in a handful of games, is you've got to make a decision what you want to do, because at the least you have to make yourself at that level when you've got poorer players. It's harder to play against. And if you can't do that, you're stuffed.
See, we've just seen Northern Ireland today, who are a great example of a side and a group of players that know what they are.
Yeah.
And so they know that they have to do what they have to do in order to get results. Scotland are still in the mode of, well, we're not that tight, we're still better than that. And so whenever they do try and play and they open up, then they lose goals.
Right.
You know, you don't see that from... The Republic of Ireland don't do it either, because they understand where they are. They understand what they're all about and what they have to do. Scotland right now still don't understand that they're going to have to fight and spit and kick and punch people to get a result, no matter who they are. Because if you go to Kazakhstan and lose 3-0, that should tell you where you are.
It was a huge clamber for Michael O'Neill, the Northern Ireland manager, to get the Scotland job for quite a number of months, maybe even over a year. It didn't happen, and Stevie Clarke got it, and I have to say at the time, deservedly so, off the back of Stevie's work at Kilmarnock. On a shoestring budget, was amazing the work he did. But I'm just wondering now, like all the other managers in the last 10, 12, 15 years that have been in there, whether he's thinking, when he gets home tonight, saying, did I make the right decision? Because this has been a death knell for a lot of managers who've taken that Scotland job with a good reputation, and it has just smashed them straight in the nose.
Of course, up against a brilliant Belgium side. And we just took a look at their ages of this starting 11. Remember, there was no Torgan Hazard, no Eden Hazard. You've got a lot of players very much in their prime at the moment.
Well, and there was a lot of expectations, even the last World Cup, even the Euros before that, that this is a Belgian squad, a Belgian side that can compete. That they're maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you could see it coming through. They weren't necessarily favorites, but they said, hey, they could cause some problems here. They've obviously done that. Now as they're getting a little bit older, a little bit more experienced, if they can stay healthy and they can have their best 11, best 13, a squad that they have as well fighting for positions, there's no question that they can't be extremely dangerous next summer.
You imagine the two Hazard brothers, and then you've got, and I'm trying to think of some more names off the top of my head. Axel Witsel's not there, a hugely experienced midfielder, and I'm sure there are some more that I can't think about off the top of my head. But that piles pressure on, and we touched on it yesterday in the show, it is going to pile pressure on Roberto Martinez when he takes this squad to where the hell the Euros are, I don't know.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere. When he takes the squad to wherever the games are, they're going to be expected.
Yeah.
You know, they had a good World Cup, but ultimately they went out at an important stage. And they are going to, whether the French are playing well, whether the Spanish or the Dutch or the English or anybody, his federation will expect him to go there and have a right good go at winning that.
What surprises me, you just take a look at the odds to win the Euros. Looking at that team, and as you mentioned, Hazard's not in it, that they are only 4th favourites behind an England team, which I know there's a lot of excitement about, but when you've got 2 stars like Kevin De Bruyne and Eden Hazard, who walk into any side, surely that elevates Belgium, I would say, ahead of Spain and England, aren't they? Shouldn't they be second favourites?
Yeah, they should be second favourites as well, no question. I mean, right now, they're actually ranked #1 in the world.
Right, yeah, but that's FIFA rankings.
Okay, but so at the same time, you know, because
get it out of here.
The problem the coach is going to have is because they were 3rd in the World Cup, he's sent the benchmark. So when they go to the Euros, unless they're at least 3rd, then he's under pressure because he's taken them that far. Now he has to do what every Belgian coach has struggled to do, take that extra step and actually win something.
From a French perspective, Frank, are Belgium the opponents you'd be most concerned about?
I think it's a fantastic team. I think they deserve to win something. We're still, you know, waiting for something coming up from this small country, but full of talented players. And I would be glad to see the Belgian team winning something. But of course, you can add France as a favorite for the next European Championship. But what about the English? Question marks about the Spanish. It's going to be hard to say right now what the truth will be within 9 months. So right now we say that Belgium is a favorite to win the European Championship. That's for me for sure the favorite of the competition right now.
There's a good chance they would have won 2016 had they had a coach in there with a bit of nous. Wilmot's was, you know. It was never happening for Wilmot's. Just he was there on reputation from being a great Belgian player, a little bit of management, managing the national team. It was almost like he was just saying, "Oh, this is the group, hugely talented. Just go and play. Whether you like Martinez or not or whatever, he's got a little bit of something about him. His teams play a certain way. His weakness has always been his team's defence. If they can sort that out, they're always going to give teams problems at the other end." And when you saw what happened to the French at Euro 2016 and the way Portugal won it, and the way that Belgium went out to Wales, you know, they have to think back then if they had somebody in charge properly.
Incredible when you think back.
Back to what happened to them with the players they had, how the Welsh turned. I mean, I know the Welsh were on a riding a wave, and Bale was playing great, but still they had a far superior squad. And I agree with Stevie. I think the reason, I've no idea why the bookies have got them where they are. But
No, it's.
I think the only reason is just history. I think sometimes when you think of
1966, a long time ago.
Well, I agree.
We made it to the semi-finals.
But I think you keep looking at England and how easily they seem to qualify for everything. And then when they get to the tournament, it doesn't quite happen for them. Yes, it was a good run at the World Cup, and there's kind of this little hope for England. But, yeah, I think there's that little bit of – I think the Premier League also kind of elevates in the bookie's mind a little bit.
And from a Belgian perspective, could the experience and what's happened in the past, however disappointing it's been, help going into this?
I don't think so. We've been saying that for a long time. Seems like forever we've been saying, well, the failures of the past will help them in the future. I think, honestly, Craig's the one that nailed it. The difference in the coach is huge.
Right.
You know, he doesn't really have to do that much. Yes, Martinez's teams have always seemed to struggle defensively, but he doesn't have to touch that defence. It's experienced, it's settled, it knows exactly what it's doing. His expertise is going forward. And that's where I think Wilmot's messed up. And so that's why they will take that extra step.
But there has to be a balance, though, right? Because, yes, that's an extremely talented team going forward. But once you play against France, let's say, and you have the pace that France has, you push a lot of numbers forward and leave gaps, you're going to get smashed on the counterattack. So you have to have that little bit of balance to say, yes, we know our strength is going forward, but we can't leave those holes against the top nations. And I even look at England when I look at that front three, front four that they can play. There's a lot of speed and a lot of pace that if you're trying to think that you're going to play 1v1 at the back from midfield, and you have Raheem Sterling going one way, and you might need to then realize that you got to have a little bit better balance.
That's why I think when this Nation League's been great for competitiveness, and teams will have an avenue to get to the Euros. But then I look at the other side of the coin. We're seeing Belgium winning in Glasgow 4-0 with what, 2/3 of a team.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to change at the Euros.
Yeah.
Big surprise in Group E. Croatia could only manage a 1-1 draw against Azerbaijan. They still remain top of the table. Slovakia, though, have closed the gap on them to 1 point, along with Hungary, after a big win for them, 2-1 win against their group rivals. Meanwhile, in Group G, Poland could only manage a 0-0 draw against Austria. Slovenia, with a 3-2 victory over Israel, lifts them up to second in the table. Harry Kane has gone to ground a little easily, hasn't he, over the last couple of matches? He addressed the accusations of diving, saying, I never, and hopefully I don't have to. I said after the Arsenal game it's a 50-50 one, similar to the one we got given us at Wembley the year before. It happens in football. I'm someone who uses his body well, which as a striker you have to do at every level. On the halfway line, it's a free kick every day of the week. In the penalty box, you don't always get it. I suppose exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah, he's got a good memory.
Oh, sorry, he's right.
Well, but what else is he going to say? Are you a diver? Well, actually, yes, you're right. Oh, I didn't...
Well, it's weird that he's been asked the question still.
Well, it's a talking point, isn't it?
Right.
So I presume it's the English media that are asking him.
Yeah.
And he's not a diver. I think he answered it very well. He's looking for contact. That's always been allowed. It's nothing new. If the defender's stupid enough to barge into you, then that's his problem, not the guy who goes down.
Says the man that would moan every time somebody like Moreno went to ground. Or anybody else.
No, but I would moan. I was actually moaning more about my stupid defenders who didn't figure out that this is what this guy does. That's Ali, you got to give him credit, was perfect at it. He got his body in the way, and if somebody was stupid enough to keep running right into the back of him, then that's on them, not on Ali.
I think there's two definitions. The dive, when you see where there's truly
with
a gap or something, and then all of a sudden somebody falls over and tries to con it. And then I think there's the one where you're coming this way, and I'm the striker. the ball's here, and I just go into you and then fall over.
Yeah.
Look, I understand what Stevie's talking about. There's one point if I'm going to stand there, but there's another thing if I initiate the contact with you and then fall over. That's a dive.
Frank, in your day...
Well, I think he did.
Yeah.
I think it's not just a personal opinion. I think he does throw himself over. I think it's become more apparent in his game. I don't think his game's as sharp as it was, and I think he's a bit frustrated. And I'll say it again, Johnny Foreigner would be dragged through the coals over it.
Yeah.
We've got to go to Frank. Frank, your thoughts?
My thought, I think, against Newcastle, I think he was touched by the defender, and at least he didn't dive. He was touched, but I think it wasn't a penalty for me. But against Arsenal, as Casey explained very well, he was looking for the contact. You're a diver because you're not playing through the spirit of football. And for me, it was a diver in that occasion.
Not many of us play through the spirit of football, is it?
We tried.
Well, we're playing Queensbury rules now on a football field. No, it's always been. It's called professionalism. That is professionalism. Now, Craig said that Harry Kane hasn't been sharp recently, and that bears out because both challenges that people are saying he dived, he got the timing completely wrong. If he's at his best, at his sharpest, and focused, then he gets the timing correct and he gets his penalties.
Well, but I think, to Frank's point, if he's not playing the ball, he's not looking to then take the ball and shoot. He realizes he's not sharp enough, as Craig said. I'm not going to be able to get a shot off here, so I'm going to put myself in a position where maybe I can get the referee to call a penalty.
See, for me, that makes it worse on the defender. Because if the guy's going through on the goalkeeper, he's not going to throw himself on the ground or try and get a penalty, right?
He is if he's not confident.
It always happens when the striker is either holding the ball before he's going out of play or he's facing away from goal. And that's called professionalism.
Extra time available on our YouTube channel. Be sure to check it out. As always, we address your tweets over there. Day of qualifiers in this period of Euro 2020 qualifying matches. You've got Montenegro taking on Czech Republic. England play host to Kosovo at St Mary's. Meanwhile, Luxembourg against Serbia. Lithuania, Portugal. Moldova, Turkey. France, Andorra. And finally, you've got Andorra.
England playing at St Mary's?
Yes, I don't know why they're not playing at Wembley.
Weird.
It is weird. There we go. How will we sleep at night not knowing that? But we'll try our best. We'll be back tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.